You boys look at that elevator cage like it's just a ride at a county fair. You joke around, pushing and shoving. You don't respect the hole. That's your first mistake. You think the mountain doesn't know you're there? It knows, it feels every pick strike. It feels every blast. And sometimes it decides it's tired of you stealing its bones. You want to know what real fear tastes like? It tastes like copper and coal dust. Sit down. Quit your fidgeting. Let me take you back to the winter of 1962, when I was 24. The lights went out, and I learned that the dark has a weight all its own. Is the coffee hot? Good. You're gonna need it. It gets cold when you start talking about the deep mines. Even in the middle of July, it's a cold that gets into your marrow and stays there. I see you looking at my hands. Yeah, they're twisted up like old tree roots, missing half a finger on the left one. That's the price of admission, son. It's the toll the mountain takes. You young bloods, you got your fancy headlamps now. LEDs that turn night into day. Got sensors that sniff out the methane before you even smell it. We didn't have that. Had a carbide lamp, a canary in a cage if we were lucky, and our ears. You had to listen to the roof. You had to listen to the timber. And if the timber started talking back, you ran. But sometimes running wasn't enough. Sometimes the mountain was faster. That was back in '62 when I was 24. I was strong then. Bull strong. Didn't have this wheeze in my chest. I could shovel 16 tons and still have energy to walk 3 miles home to see my Sarah. I was working the graveyard shift at the Black Creek Mine, number 4 shaft. It was a wet mine, always dripping. Water constantly running down the walls, turning the coal dust into a thick, black paste that stuck to your boots, your clothes, your skin. You couldn't wash it off. You just wore it. It became a part of you. My buddy that year was a giant of a man we called Tiny Miller. Tiny was 6'4" and wide as a barn door. He didn't talk much, but he could swing a pick like he was mad at the rock. We were working a room and pillar section, way back in the drift. That means we were carving out rooms of coal and leaving pillars of coal to hold the roof up. It's dangerous work because eventually the company gets greedy. They want the coal and the pillars too. They call it robbing the pillars. You take the support out and hope the roof holds just long enough for you to back out. It's like stealing a bone from a sleeping dog's mouth. You know it's going to bite. You just hope you're fast enough to pull your hand away. That night, the air felt heavy. You know how the air feels right before a thunderstorm? Heavy, static, thick. It felt like that, but we were 600 feet underground. The ventilation fans were humming, pushing air down the shaft, but it didn't feel fresh. It felt recycled, stale. Tiny and I were loading a coal car. Clang, scrape, thud. That was the rhythm of our lives. Clang goes the shovel. Scrape goes the coal. Thud goes the load into the cart. We didn't talk. What? You didn't waste breath talking. Every breath was precious down there. The only light came from the open flames on our helmets. Those carbide lamps. ... They hissed. A little hiss like a snake. If the oxygen got low, the flame would get long and blue. If the methane, the fire damp was high, the flame would flare up. You were wearing a bomb on your head, basically. About 3 hours into the shift, I stopped. I leaned on my shovel and wiped the sweat from my eyes with a rag that was dirtier than my face. "Tiny," I said, "you hear that?" Tiny stopped. He tilted his head. We stood there in the semi-darkness, the lamps casting long, dancing shadows on the wet walls. At first, there was nothing. Just the drip, drip, drip of the mine water. Then I heard it. A pop. Like a gunshot, but muffled. Then a groan. A long, low groan, like an old wooden ship settling in the water. It was the timber props. The wooden beams we set up to hold the slate roof, they were taking weight. Now, timber talks. Any old miner will tell you that. It creaks, it groans. But this, this was different. This was the sound of wood splintering under millions of tons of rock. "She's heavy tonight," Tiny grunted. He looked up at the roof. The slate looks solid, black and shiny, but looks to deceive you down there. Suddenly, a rat ran across my boot. A big gray mine rat. Now most people hate rats, but a miner loves a rat. If the rats are eating your lunch, you're safe. If the rats are around, the air is good. But if you see the rats running, you better follow them. Then another one ran past, and another. They were moving away from the face, heading back toward the main shaft. Silas, Tiny said, his voice dropping an octave. "We need to go." We dropped our shovels. We didn't wait for the foreman. We didn't wait for the whistle. When the rats leave, you leave. We started walking fast back down the haulageway. The air suddenly got hot, a pressure change. My ears popped. The groaning of the wood got louder. Crack. A timber prop 20 feet behind us snapped in half like a toothpick. Dust started to sift down from the ceiling, not just dust, small pebbles. We call it dribbling. When the roof dribbles, it's getting ready to pour. "Run," Tiny yelled. And for a big man, he could move. We broke into a sprint, our boots splashing in the muddy water on the track. The darkness seemed to be chasing us, eating up the light from our lamps. We were maybe 50 yards from the junction, from safety, when the world ended. It wasn't a noise at first. It was a wind. A massive gust of air pushed by the falling rock, slamming into us like a physical blow. It knocked me flat on my face into the muck. Then came the roar. It sounded like a freight train crashing into a mountain. The earth shook so hard my teeth rattled in my skull. Covered my head with my arms, curled into a ball, and prayed. I prayed to God. I prayed to Jesus. I prayed to the mountain itself. Please, not now. I'm only 24. I haven't bought Sarah the ring yet. Debris rained down. Dust, thick and choking, filled my nose and mouth. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. My lamp had been knocked off and extinguished. It was absolute, total blackness. You think you know dark? You don't. Nighttime has stars. The closet has cracks of light under the door. Down there, the darkness is a physical thing. It presses against your eyes. You can't tell if your eyes are open or closed. The roar stopped as quickly as it started. Dust hung in the air, tasting of sulfur and ancient rot. Oh, I spit the grit out of my mouth. "Tiny?" I whispered. The sound of my own voice scared me. It sounded dead. Flat. "Tiny." I yelled louder. "I'm here, kid." His voice was close, maybe 5 feet away. "You hurt?" "I don't think so," I said, feeling my limbs. I was bruised, soaked, and terrified, but nothing felt broken. "My lamp is gone." "Mine too," Tiny said. "And I think the way out is gone too." We crawled toward each other in the dark, feeling along the cold, wet ground until our hands touched. We sat there, shoulder to shoulder against the coal wall, reached out in front of us. Rock solid, jagged rock. The roof had come down right across the haulageway. We were sealed in a pocket. A tomb. Time stops underground. You don't know if it's day or night. You don't know if it's been an hour or a week. We sat in that darkness listening to the water drip. Drip, drip, drip. It was torture. "They'll come for us," Tiny said. He was trying to be brave for me. I knew that. He was older, had a wife and 3 kids. The rescue team. They'll hear us. We found a metal pipe and air line running along the floor. It was crushed, but it ran back toward the shaft. We took a piece of rock and started tapping. Clang dash, clang dash, clang dot dot dot. Clang, 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 the miner's signal for distress. 3 taps. We tapped until our hands bled. We tapped until our arms went numb. Then we would sleep or pass out and wake up and tap some more. The hunger came first, a gnawing pain in the belly, then the thirst. We licked the moisture off the coal walls. Tasted like iron and poison, but we drank it. Started seeing things in the dark. I saw my mother baking bread, saw Sarah in her blue Sunday dress, standing right there in the mine, smiling at me. I reached out to touch her, and my hand hit cold, wet stone. That's when I broke. I started crying. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was 24, buried alive, and I wanted my mama. Tiny grabbed my shoulder. His hand was like a vice. Stop it, Silas. Save your air. Don't you give that mountain the satisfaction? You hear me? You breathe shallow. Stay with me. If not for Tiny, I would have died of fear. He told me stories in the dark. He told me about fishing trips he never took. He told me about the house he wanted to build. He kept my mind from eating itself. It must have been the third day. The air was getting bad. It's hard to describe bad air. It makes you dizzy. Your head pounds like a drum. You feel sleepy, so very sleepy. That's the carbon dioxide building up. It's a gentle killer. It just sings you a lullaby and puts you to sleep forever. I'm tired, Tiny, I whispered. My tongue felt swollen in my mouth. Don't you sleep, Silas. Don't you dare sleep, Tiny rasped. But his voice was weak too. It wasn't a drip. It was a dull thud. From the other side of the rockfall, I sat up. Tiny. Oh God, I croaked. I grabbed my rock and hammered on the pipe. Clang, clang, clang. I hit it with everything I had left. We heard a muffled shout, then the sound of machinery. It's the sound of a drill. It was the most beautiful music I ever heard. It took them another 6 hours to break through. 6 hours of waiting, hoping the roof wouldn't fall again. When the light broke through, just a tiny pinprick of a beam from a rescue lamp pit blinded me. It hurt my eyes like fire. But I didn't close them. I watched that hole get bigger and bigger until a dirty face looked through. We got him, the voice yelled. We got 2 live ones. They dragged us out of that hole like rag dolls. They put us on stretchers. I remember the ride up the elevator. The air got fresher with every foot we rose. When we broke the surface, it was night. The stars were out. Millions of them. I had never seen the sky look so big. The women were there at the pit head, waiting. Some were crying with joy. Some were just crying because their men weren't the ones coming up. I saw Sarah. She broke through the line and ran to the stretcher. She didn't care about the coal dust, the muck, the smell. She buried her face in my neck and sobbed. I didn't go back down for 6 months. Tiny never went back down. He moved to Ohio, got a job in a factory, said he needed to see the sky while he worked. But I went back. It's all I knew. But I was different. The mountain had taken a piece of my soul and kept it down there in the dark. So, you young bloods, you listen to me. You respect the protocols. You check your gear. But mostly, you listen to your gut. If the hair on your neck stands up, if the rats start running, if the air feels heavy, you move. Don't worry about the boss yelling. Don't worry about the lost wages. You can replace money. You can't replace a father. You can't replace a son. When I was 24, I learned that life is fragile. It hangs by a thread or a timber prop. Don't you ever forget that. Now, help me up. My knees are stiff, and I think I hear the dinner bell.